The first time the wolf came to our village, it did not attack. It stood at the edge of the lantern light, staring at us like it knew our names. Then it turned toward the forest and waited, as if expecting us to follow into the dark. My father said wolves were only animals, but the old women crossed themselves and locked their doors. By morning, 3 chickens were gone, and every footprint in the mud led away from the pens and back to the same tree where the wolf had been waiting. We found the first note nailed to the church door with a black thorn. It was written in a hand none of us recognized, and it said, "Do not bury what the wolf has found." No one admitted writing it, but everyone knew the forest had heard us. That night, the wolf howled once, and every dog in the village answered from inside their houses. The sound was wrong, too deep, too human, and when it stopped, my little brother whispered that something beneath the ground had just turned over. At dawn, we followed the wolf's tracks into the pines. They did not wander. They marched in a straight line toward the old quarry, where the earth had collapsed years ago and where, according to my grandmother, the village had once buried a sin it never named. The quarry was silent except for dripping water and the scrape of claws on stone. The wolf stood on a ledge above a black opening in the rock, its fur bristling, its eyes fixed on the darkness below. Then it looked at me, and I understood it was warning us. My father ordered us back, but my brother had already climbed down. He said he heard someone calling his name from inside the hole. We shouted for him to return, yet the wolf only lowered its head, as if listening to a voice we could not hear. When my brother came back up, his face was white as ash. He would not speak until we reached the village, and then he said the cave was not empty. He said there were bones arranged like a bed, and something had been sleeping there for a very long time. That evening, the wolf entered the village for the first time. It walked between the houses without fear, and no one dared stop it. It paused at the well, sniffed the stones, and then scratched at the ground until it uncovered a rusted iron ring. The ring was attached to a trapdoor beneath the well. We had never seen it before, though the stones around it were older than the church. My grandmother went pale and said the village had been built over a mouth, and the wolf had found the teeth. No one wanted to open it, but the wolf sat beside the well and stared until my father finally lifted the ring. Cold air rose from below, carrying the smell of wet earth and something rotten. From the darkness came a sound like breathing, slow and patient. We lowered a lantern into the opening and saw a staircase carved into the stone. The steps descended far deeper than any well should reach. At the bottom, the light touched a wall covered in claw marks, and beneath them, fresh blood still glistened. My brother said he had heard the voice again, only now it was coming from below the village, not from the cave. The wolf growled softly and backed away from the opening, as if it knew the thing beneath us had finally woken up. That night, the church bells rang by themselves. One by one, the windows in the village lit up, though no one had touched them. Then came the knocking, not on doors, but from under the floors, as if something below had begun to climb. We gathered in the square with axes, lanterns, and prayers. The wolf stood at the center of the road, facing the church, its body rigid, its ears flattened. It did not look at us. It was watching the ground, waiting for the first crack. The crack came from beneath the chapel steps. Dust burst into the air, and the stones shifted like something huge was turning over below. My grandmother screamed that the buried thing had been fed for years, and now it had learned the taste of our fear. Then the wolf did something no animal should do. It ran straight into the church. We followed, and inside we found the altar split in half, the candles blown out, and the floor sinking inward as if the building itself were being swallowed from below. Beneath the altar was a chamber we had never known existed. On the walls were painted scenes of the village long ago, but every face had been scratched out. In the center lay a stone coffin, and on its lid was carved the shape of a wolf. My father touched the coffin, and the wolf lunged between him and the stone. It bared its teeth, not at us, but at the lid, as if guarding what was inside. Then the coffin answered with a knock from within, slow and deliberate, and everyone froze. The second knock split the lid. A hand, pale and wet, pressed through the crack. My brother began to cry because the fingers were too long, too thin, and they moved like they were searching for a throat. The wolf howled, and the chamber went silent. The thing inside spoke our names in our mother's voice. It said we had forgotten the promise, and now it had come home. My grandmother fell to her knees and confessed that the village had once trapped a man who could wear a wolf's skin. She said he had been a hunter, then a murderer, then something worse after the forest took him. The villagers had buried him alive beneath the church and fed the wolf to keep him sleeping. But the wolf had not been a prisoner. It had been the jailer. The chamber shook as the coffin opened wider. A shape rose from the dark, half man and half wolf, its skin stretched tight over bone, its eyes shining with a sick, human intelligence. It smiled at us with my brother's mouth, and then it stepped forward. The wolf attacked first. It slammed into the creature with a force that shook the chamber, and the two of them crashed through the altar above. Stone exploded. Dust swallowed everything. We ran, but behind us came the sound of claws tearing through flesh and wood alike. Outside, the village was burning. No one knew who had started the fire, but every house seemed to catch at once, as if the flames had been waiting under the roofs. In the red light, the wolf emerged from the church with blood on its muzzle and sorrow in its eyes. The creature followed, dragging one ruined arm behind it. It was no longer hiding what it was. Its body twisted with every step, and its voice came from several throats at once. It called the wolf by a name older than the village, and the wolf finally answered. They fought beneath the bell tower while the fire climbed higher. The wolf moved like a shadow with teeth, fast and silent, while the creature struck with terrible strength. Then the bell rang once, and the sound shattered the air, making both of them stagger. My brother grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the quarry, shouting that the wolf wanted us there. We reached the edge just as the ground split open again. Below, the old staircase glowed with a pale light, and from deep inside came the sound of something waking for the last time. The wolf stood at the opening, wounded and trembling, and looked at us one final time. Then it leapt into the light below. The creature screamed, not in pain, but in recognition, as if the wolf had carried the only key that could lock it away forever. By morning, the fire was gone, the church was ash, and the quarry had collapsed shut. We never found the wolf's body, but every winter, when the wind moves through the pines, we hear one low howl from beneath the earth, and we remember who was really protecting us.